What is up, my pretties? It's the Queen of Lions here, and today we're back with another episode of Shadows and Pretties. This is episode 145, and today I'm going to be doing a movie, which is a live-action movie called Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. Now, this is a sequel to the 2002's Scooby Doo live-action movie that came out in 2002. This movie, on the other hand, came out 2 years after the first movie did. So yeah, I'm gonna definitely say right here that this film, like the first film, it generally received negative reviews from critics. But of course, in my personal opinion, I actually really do like this movie, how the movie went out. So with that being the case, and with that being said, I'm gonna sit here and basically go through the whole plot of Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. So it does have the original actors from the first live action one. So we got like Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, Linda Cardinelli. I apologize if I mispronounced her last name. It also has Matthew Lillard, who's Scooby Doo. We also got Nell Fanning, who is reprising his role as the voice of Scooby Doo in the live action. We also do have a couple of other actors, random actors who also got to play parts in this movie. So today, what I'm going to sit here and say right now, I'm going to be basically going through the plot of this movie in case if you guys haven't watched the movie in like a long time. For those who haven't watched the movie or anything, I'm going to sit here and say this now that I actually find this sequel to be a pretty good sequel to the live action Scooby-Doo movie that came out in 2002. This one came out 2 years after the second movie came out, so... But a lot of people really say it didn't do as great as the first movie, and I think most of you guys may know why. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and, basically state my opinions on the, well, I guess I'll just basically start off by talking about the plot of the movie to refresh your minds, if you haven't watched the movie in, like, a long time. So, I guess anyways, with, that being the case, that being said, yeah. Anyways, I think we should get started. So basically, takes place sometime after the adventures of their adventures of Spooky Island. Fred, Daphne, Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby attended the opening of the exhibition at the Cools in Criminology Museum, which commemorates of their past mysteries with displays of each culprit's monster costume. However, an individual known as the Evil Masked Figure interrupts this event, stealing two costumes using the reanimated version of the pterodactyl ghost. However, journalist Heather Jasper Howie ridicules this whole gang by starting a smear campaign against them, by taking their spoken words out of context, concluding the old vengeful enemy that is Mastermind. The gang then begins revisiting old cases, dismissing the former pterodactyl ghost doctor, Jonathan Jacobo, yeah. Due to his presumed death during a failed prison escape 3 years ago, they suspected Jeremiah Wickles, sorry, I had to keep saying that a few times because, yeah, I'm terrible when it comes to saying certain words. The Black Knight Ghost and Jacobo's recent released cellmate. Shaggy and Scooby, after overhearing the others criticizing their tender saying to bungle with every operation, especially with their most recent failure to secure the pterodactyl ghost in the museum, resolves to better themselves and act like real detectives. Going to Wickles' house residence, the group falls through a trapdoor and then into a cage, which targeting unwelcoming callers, but they escape due to Daphne's cosmetics inside. The gang then find an ancient Celtic text that serves an instruction manual on how to create monsters by combining magic and science. Scooby and Shaggy find a note inviting Wickles to a visit of the Folk Ghost nightclub, but they get attacked by the Black Knight Ghost. After escaping, fending it off, before fleeing, the rest of the gang had previously discovered through the book found in Wickles' mansion that the key to the ingredient by creating the monsters is a substance called ranitonium, which is a byproduct by a certain silver, which lines as Coolsville's old mining town. So Daphne, Velma, and Fred go to the museum, accompanied by the contractor Patrick Wisely, but it's discovered by the rest of the costumes have been stolen. However, Jasper Howard then turns the city against them. Following the leads from the Wickles' note, Scooby and Shaggy then disguises and in themselves as some villains and sneaks into the full ghost, only to discover it's a hangout for all the villains Mystery Inc. had previously unmasked. After speaking with Wickles, they actually found out that he has abandoned his criminal ways, and the duo eventually discovers that they escape through the garbage chute. On their way out, they spot Patrick. Uncharacteristically, the duo are eventually discovered, but is threatening people to appear to be a member of his staff, ordering them to find out who vandalized the museum. Escaping the awkward interaction with Patrick, Scooby and Shaggy spot Wickles at leaving the knife club to follow him. Daphne, Velma, and Fred go to the mines, finding Wickles presenting plans to turn it into a summer camp for children to a group of investors. But when they confront him, he states that he and Jacobo hated each other for various pretty petty reasons, so he has no connection to the museum robberies. The gang then finds itself a secret laboratory where the costumes are vitalized and supernatural creatures. Shaggy and Scooby play around the machine's control panel, bringing several costumes to life, such as the zombie, Captain Cutler, One Man 49er, the Tar Monster, and the Skeleton Guys. I mean, those are pretty epic monsters, and I really like how they, use computer animation to make it, realistic and in a way. I mean, it's pretty interesting. The gang flees with the panel as the evil masked figure terrorizes the city, escaping their old high school clubhouse. The gang realizes that they can reverse the control panel's power, alternating its writing, but consequently destroying the monsters. However, Captain Cutler emerges from the nearby lake, forcing the gang to retreat to the mines. Encountering the various monsters along the way, Velma tries to give Shaggy and Scooby the control panel, but they refuse to take it, believe that the gang will retreat to the mines, encountering the various monsters along the way. But of course, they will come again to ruin everything and admit their feelings of insecurity compared to the rest of the gang. So Velma convinces that they are fine as they both have been heroes their whole way along. After escaping the Skeleton Man, Velma then finds a shrine dedicated to Jacobo, built by Patrick. Eventually, Patrick finds her and proves his innocence by helping her after the cat walkway gives away underneath her, but he gets captured by the pterodactyl ghost. The gang confronts the evil masked figure. The tar monster basically captures everyone except Scooby, who uses a fire extinguisher to freeze its body, and he reconnects the control panel and activates it, turning the monsters back into their original forms, and the gang takes the masked figure to the authorities when he is revealed to be Howie. However, when they asked about Howie's reason for committing the crimes, Velma suddenly pulls out her face, revealing it to be actually Jonathan Jacobo. Alive and well, Velma explains that she realized that Jacobo was still alive after finding the newspaper clipping showing them in front of the museum, the construction of it which had begun a year after his apparent death. Having basically surviving his prison escape, Jacobo shot Slot that he would get the revenge on the game by discrediting them into his Heather Jasper Howie persona, and later ultimately defeat them with his newfound way to create monsters. Jacobo gets arrested, and once again alongside the cameraman and accompany Ned and the gang are praised as heroes once more, and they celebrate their victory at the Full Ghost with Wickles and their reformed criminals. Now, I'm gonna definitely say that this movie was a lot more darker than the first movie. Like, if you take a look at the first live action Scooby Doo movie, I mean that one was a lot more that one was it wasn't too dark, but there were rumors saying it was going to be like a dark movie. But for some reason in this movie, it actually was a lot more darker than the first movie. I actually found this one to be a lot darker than the first one. But I mean, there was some good jokes in there that they actually throwed in there, and actually made it look pretty good for what it is. So I'm gonna definitely give credit for that. That, the whole concept seems dark and all that, but it's still a pretty good movie for what this is. Of course, there are two prequels to this movie, and as well as the first one, such as Scooby Doo and the Mystery Begins and Scooby Doo and the Curse of the Lake Monster. But that I'm going to be reviewing those two movies a different time. So I mean, we got all the actors who were the original Scooby Doo characters returns again, and we also do have some new actors who played um well, I could say there's like a lot of other characters, like some of the monsters and all that. There's cameos of different characters. I mean, it was pretty neat for what this one is. So in June of 2002, at the time of the release of Scooby Doo, the first one, Dan Feldman, the president of Warner Bros., confirmed that as a sequel was in the works and was slated for a 2004 release. In March of 2003, however, it was announced that Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar, Nell Fanning, Matthew Lillard, and Linda Cardellini would be reprising their roles in the sequel. In April 2003, next month, the filming began the sequel in Vancouver, which is somewhere else in Canada. Pretty interesting, with Seth Green joining the cast. So, of course, when the movie was released on March 26, 2004, it grossed out about almost $30 million over 3,000 theaters. During its opening weekend, it was ranking number one its gross total amount, so in North America. But of course, with that being said, for whatever reason, this movie wasn't really as great as a lot of people maybe thought it was. Like, I thought it was going to be a good movie, and I think it's still a pretty good movie for what this is. So, yeah. With that being said, and with that being the case, however, there is a video game that is loosely following the plot of the same film. However, it was like a 3D click point adventure on the PC and a 2-game beat them up platformer and all that. So, there is two prequels of this calling, Mystery Begins and Curse of the Lake Monster. I do plan to review those two movies in due time. And they were released in 2009 and 2010. So I definitely have to say, I mean, when I first watched this movie, I actually thought it was a pretty dark movie. I mean, it took a little bit of a darker turn than how the first movie went out. Like, the first movie, it was dark at times, but it actually was pretty well made for what this first one really was. But in this one, however, it took a bit of a new level turn when it comes to, a dark concept. Like, this concept, in my opinion, is actually a lot more darker than the first movie. But I still found the first movie to be enjoyable. I still find this one to be flat out amazing, really well made in detail, and I do really like how everything was going according to plan when this movie came out. Okay, however, there is a third sequel for it, but unfortunately it was canceled, and there is a good reason why this one is canceled. I'm not saying good reason like, oh man, we wanted a first sequel or something like that. Well, I mean, if the first sequel of this were to happen, I don't really know what the plot of it would be, but maybe you guys can make up your thoughts on what would the third movie be, if it ever were to exist, or if it ever were to be made, or anything like that. I'm sure maybe we can all come up with our own thoughts, theories as to, all that. But for now on, for the third movie, if we want it, we'll just have to make fictionalized it. Basically, maybe write a fan fiction or something. I mean, I've been considering on doing that, but not gonna guarantee it though. So that's that. So, in October of 2002, during the filming of Scooby Doo 2, Warner Bros. Approved the production of a third film. Dan Foreman and Paul Foley were hired to write the script for Scooby Doo 3 in August of 2004. Matthew Lara did say in the interview that the third Scooby Doo movie was canceled because the second had not been done as well as they expected. So, unfortunately, the third movie was canceled as it did not do as great as they expected it, because The first movie did pretty good that they made a sequel, but unfortunately, for whatever reason, the sequel did not do as great as they expected it to be. But I mean, if the third movie were to come out, I'm sure it would have been, pretty interesting. Maybe if they had a decent sort of plot into it, or at least they have some pretty good concept art, or at least some concept storyline, which it attributed to Warner Brothers releasing it to be an inappropriate time. So, but of course, fast forward to 2019, an interview that James Gunn revealed that he was set to write and direct, but the film did not happen due to the financial disappointment of the second movie, stating, although it did well, it didn't do great enough to warrant a third, so the movie was never made. Gunn tweeted the plot for it to be canceled that Mystery Inc. gang were hired by a town in Scotland who complained that they were being plagued by monsters, but then they discover throughout the film that the monsters were actually victims. Shaggy and Scooby have come to terms with their own prejudices and narrow belief systems. So that's actually what the plot of the second movie was originally, third movie was originally going to be before it was canceled. I mean, it kind of sucked that it canceled, but the way that I actually read that part, what Gunn just stated, that was on a Twitter post. I mean, if you go on Twitter, you might be on his post. You might be able to find it on Twitter. Yet again, I mean, it does sound interesting. I'm not gonna lie. It does sound really interesting. It sounds really well made. I thought it would be a pretty interesting concept, especially with the whole concept of, what this movie would have been and all that. But anyways, I mean, not everything can happen, right? Well, anyways, that being said, this is my opinion on Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed. If you disagree with me, like if you don't like the second movie, that's fine. And yeah, as always, I'm gonna sit here and say, feel free to state your opinion on this movie in the comments below. I would really like to hear what your thoughts are on this movie are. So as I'm gonna say, I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you're new to this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, I'm going to see you all in the next video, and I don't know what the next Shadows and Pretties episode will be about. Maybe another Scooby Doo movie if I ever have the opportunity, but at this point, I really don't know. But anyways, yeah, I'll be seeing you all in the next upload. Peace out.